Hello everybody and welcome back to Suzerain. So it's been a couple days since I actually played this last. Cyberpunk 2077 just came out, so I've been playing that religiously over the last couple days. But I am now back, so I apologize for the slight delay there not being a video out for Sunday. And also thank you for all the views for the last video, The Life and Suffering of Sir Bronte. If you want me to play another episode of that, just let me know. But for right now, let's continue on with Suzerain. So in the last episode, we allocated the budget, there had to be some cuts made, so on and so forth. And now we have to deal with regional investment decisions, budget allocation of law enforcement, and an evening walk with Monica. I think that's pretty much it. I don't think there's any other outstanding things going on in the country. There's plenty of outstanding things going on in the country, but I don't think there's any other news reports or anything like that. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Regional investment decision. Gus Manger and Simon Hall have prepared an extensive regional investment package to revitalize one of the top 3 economically fragile regions by boosting the municipality budgets, providing large sums of business grants, and giving cheap loans to companies with liquidity problems. The proposal can be implemented in one of the following regions: Bergia, Lauren, and Anglin. It'll be -1 government budget, or you can just choose not to. Okay, so I think every single time I've chosen Anglin, which is, let's see. Yeah, it's up here. Because usually I end up doing a trade deal. I think the last playthrough that I did, I ended up doing a trade deal with Agnolia. So this kind of helped me. But in this particular run, I don't think it's actually going to do me much good because I haven't done the highway project. So I'll pick somewhere else. I think one time before I also did Lauren because of the port and such. I don't know how much help that's going to be either. So let's see what the other options were. Bergia and Lauren. I think Bergia would probably help me if I did not arrest. Oh no, Bergia is where the Bluetish community is, so I definitely can't choose that. So it's probably gonna have to be Lauren again. So let's do Lauren. Alright, let's see what the report says here. The Whole Sword Post. Government investment in Lauren. The Swordist government has injected billions of Swordish Ren into the development of the region of Lauren. The Lauren region was identified as one of the government's priority areas for luring heavy industry investments. The city of Morna and Morble will likely benefit the most from the investment due to the proximity to natural resources, existing transmission links, and population centers. The government program is designed to attract investors and kickstart the massive industry of the region and that has shrunk over the decade. The funding will also be used to develop the regional infrastructure, and a small portion will be used as subsidies for the forestry industry, government officials said. Okay, now on to the next one, the budget allocation of law enforcement. And if I remember correctly, this is going to be a little intriguing. So, I was in my office reading reports from the ministries about the current situation of the protests. My next scheduled meeting was about the law enforcement budget with Nia and Lilius. I heard some knocks on the door. Nia entered and took a seat in front of my desk. Lilia was absent. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Lilius would be late. Apparently there was an urgent matter at the Ministry of the Interior she had to attend to. Shouldn't take long. Very well, let's wait. I returned to my reports and Nia smoothed back an errant strand of her hair. There was an awkward silence. While we wait, why don't we have a little chat? A chat about your emergency decree. Okay. What of it? Nothing, apart from the fact that we are repeating Sol's mistakes again, or the fact that this is not what we were elected for, or the fact that you get my point. Let's see. Well, we're gonna try to be somewhat soulless, or maybe somewhat fascist, but let's see. Mistakes of Sol, he made this great country what it currently is. A great country where there are innocent people getting murdered on the streets because of internal conflicts. Is this your understanding of a great country? She sighed. I keep thinking about it and I came to the same conclusion every time. There's no way I can get behind this. Don't forget that I have a vote in the court. Trust me, I'm doing all this for the well-being of Swordland. She opened her mouth to answer, but there was a knock at the door. Lilia's Graff entered the room. Mr. President, Nia, I hope that I'm not interrupting your conversation. No, not at all. We were just discussing a few things. Nia smiled at Lilius. I'm sorry for being late. There was an important matter at the ministry. Just a small dispute over who should get the supplies. Nothing major. Lilius took the seat next to Nia as she continued talking. Before we begin, your call to boost the police to react to the protests has helped us tremendously in maintaining public safety. A few incidents seem to have happened due to the inexperience of the recruits coming from the police academy. They were relieved of duty immediately. Well then, let's go straight in. We will provide a brief update on the situation of law enforcement. Alright, go ahead. Nia, the Ministry of Justice and the Supreme Court is working in close collaboration with the Ministry of Interior to address the protests in the country. Our efforts ramped up quite a bit recently, especially after the declaration of the emergency decree. I must add that thanks to the hard work of our judiciary, the law enforcement forces assigned to my ministry are doing their jobs efficiently. I would call it the success of our forces on the ground, not due to the judicial branch of our government. Lilia shot Nia a brief, withering glance before she continued. As expected, the budget increase has boosted morale of the employees in the law enforcement agencies. In these dire times, my people and Nia's people are especially delighted. This came as a pleasant surprise to many in the Ministry of the Interior, since it was not even one of our campaign promises. And for that, all I will say is, bravo! This was an excellent decision. Agreed. At the Ministry of Justice, we are very happy with the decision as well. The backlog of the court cases are dwindling, and we have started to fulfill the needs of the current situation. Certainly a step in the right direction. Of course I made the right decision, and I made it after all. Thank you. I'm glad you approve. Nia nodded. Of course. Well then, let's move on to what we are actually here for. Due to the budget increase, we can start doing much more as the main branches of security in Swordland. However, a decision has to be made about the budget balance between the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Justice. Exactly. When deciding, you must look at the bigger picture. I believe you will make the right choice and pick the Ministry of Interior. Why should I pick the Ministry of Interior? The Ministry of Interior is a much more significant and important government agency that is in need of the funds, especially during these times where there are many protests in the country. Good luck prosecuting criminals or going through local government laws without enough judges, Lilius. What if I decide to balance the budget in between the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Justice? Balancing the budget won't help us much. The current situation clearly demands that a decisive choice be made to benefit the nation. I agree. We need to focus on one ministry to achieve tangible results. Of course, what would make the most sense in the current situation would be to support the much neglected Ministry of Justice that would improve the legal system in Swordland. Tell me, Nia, who bring the criminals before the justices? Let me answer. The police force is connected to the Ministry of Interior. Why should I pick the Ministry of Justice? Each day, the stacks of legal cases are piling up for judges. Cases for corruption and criminals are delayed due to a lack of funds. It seems to be an organizational issue, but not a funding one. The Interior needs the money more for the police and the local governments. I'm ready to make a decision. Before you decide, I would like to remind you of your obligations and promises as the leader of this administration, Mr. President. What will it be? Lilius and Nia both leaned forward. Alright, so I am going to give the funds to the Ministry of the Interior so they can, of course, better fund the police and so on and so forth. There's also another reason why I'm going to do this, and you'll see in just a second. A wise choice. I was expecting you to be different, Mr. President. A brief moment of deliberation passed. Nia got up from her seat. I must return to the ministry to implement necessary changes. Very well. See you soon, Nia. I need to have a few words with Mr. President. Nia smiled and left the room. Lilius turned to me. I have a proposal. We've been battling with terror for a long time now. I want to put an end to it. That's why I'm proposing the formation of a secret state police. This would be a new force that would be in charge of handling internal security and intelligence matters. The primary aim of this program is to detect and prevent subversive elements before they take any harmful action against the state. If you accept, this will give our administration power to handle the threats more discreetly as well. And of course, I definitely want a secret state police. What sort of fascist state would this be if it didn't have a secret state police? I mean, come on. All right, let's do it. Excellent. I will start the prep work. You're making a good decision. You're making good decisions after good decisions today, Mr. President. I will be in touch. Granted, I don't trust her as far as I can throw her, but still. All right. We have 2 more articles here from the Radical. Let's see. The Pro-Rain Purge. Thousands of state employees were dismissed under the emergency decree for alleged links to terrorism groups. So far, under the decree, 12,662 people, including nearly 1,000 police officers and hundreds of teachers and academics, were sacked. The opposition leader, Mr. Richter, said Switzerland was now entering a dangerous period of fascist rule. Arcadia and Lesbia have also accused the president of using the Bernard Sarkos murder as an excuse to crack down on dissidents. Recession is growing faster. With double-digit unemployment and plunging economic output, the recession has been a reality for a long time. But if there was any remaining doubt that Switzerland is in a recession, it has now been removed by an announcement from the Business Council of Switzerland. In the announcement, the council pointed to the unprecedented magnitude of the decline in unemployment and production and its broad reach across the entire Swedish economy. The economy shrank by 2.4% in the last month and lost further value against Arcadian lira. Well, I mean, Arcadia is a superpower, so naturally we're not going to have as much money as them, but I digress. Let's see what we have going on up here. Protesters protesting against police brutality arrested. The civil protest happening in Linköping against police brutality has been broken up by the police with relative ease thanks to the increased police authority laws. Water cannons have been deployed and tear gas guns were supplied to the police force, which resulted in a prompt suppression. Jesus. Cracking down quickly now. 16 students detained for organizing a rally. 16 students plotting to organize a rally have been arrested by the police and taken into solitary confinement. Due to the removal of the trial process, the arrests are being made much faster, and we have been able to suppress the protests quickly and decisively. Oh yeah. Report from Sarna, mass surveillance resulted in 1984 arrests. A little bit on the nose there. The Swedish intelligence agency reports that the new surveillance laws have provided the possibility to stop protesters gathering before they even started. Results were extraordinary, and it allowed 1,984 dissidents posing a danger to Switzerland to be arrested in recent days alone. Ooh, a lot of people getting arrested. Jesus, Switzerland is huge. And now let's have an evening walk with my wife. It was early evening, still light out with just a faint nip in the air. Frank was at his friend's and Dana was at an art class. Monica and I decided to go out for a walk before dinner. Our favorite place for a stroll was nearby Capitol Park, the largest green space in all of Hulsord. Before the children were born, we had spent many an evening engaged in deep conversations along the riverside promenade. Another favorite path wound through the woods behind the presidential housing complex to a private pond where the children could swim in summer. I was told that Sol himself had it built, the benefits of being president. Monica met me by the door and we put on our coats and hats. I was going to suggest we walk towards Seoul Square, but the guards told me it's been closed because of the Emergency Act. There's so many police in the city now, it's starting to remind me of the 20s. I wonder how long this will go on. Let's see. They're protecting us against our enemies. I know, but I still don't like seeing so many guns on the streets. In any case, where shall we go? I'm not sure Capitol Park is a wise idea in this climate either. Not Nonsense. We have our guards. There's nothing to be afraid of. Let's go to Capitol Park. If you say so. Let's go then, before the children get home. I informed the guards about our route, and we left the house. The guards followed us with a black Cadilla as we exited the gates. Walking briskly, we reached Capitol Park in minutes. As we entered the park, Monica broke the silence. So, how was your day? Paperwork, endless meetings, the usual nightmare. I don't know. I imagine some might find that stimulating. What about your day? Oh, it was fine. I caught up on some reading while the children were at school. As we reached the river, we saw Ionis Krona, Sure. The former Minister of Justice walking in the opposite direction. I remember that Nia Morgna used to be his vice minister. He gave us a quick nod of acknowledgement. Ionis had once fought hard and strong against Seoul judiciary reforms, but after years of the government blocking his every move, he gave up on his ideals and became a part of the administration. What did our ideals really mean if they could be changed so easily? What about the people we idolized? Evelyn also came around for tea. She says hi. She was feeling rather low, though. Apparently, she and Peter had a bit of a disagreement. Peter's in the doghouse again. How'd it happen? Apparently, Peter had too much to drink. Too much to drink as usual, and didn't behave when Evelyn's father was over for dinner yesterday. You know, Peter, what do you think of this? That's Peter, perpetually pickled. I'll have a talk with him. Perpetually pickled. Never heard somebody use that before. Good. Evelyn seemed close to tears. Being married to a shrew like her would make anyone turn to the bottle. Yeah, it's definitely something I want to tell my wife about her best friend. Aren't you glad you and I don't have these kind of quarrels? Monica didn't say anything. We kept walking. You know, Evelyn hasn't been the same since what happened to her at Hosord Post last year. You remember how she got fired for supporting Alfonso? Peter tried everything to get her back, but it didn't work. To get her job back. I'm gonna have to play a little bit more careful with my wife, so I might say some things that are contradictory to the actual policies that I have. Actually, I'll just go with maybe he didn't try hard enough. I don't think anything would have worked. It was a sad day for freedom of the press in Swordland. But enough about the Vecturns. I also spoke to Janice on the phone. Who? You remember, my friend from university? We were in the Swordist literature class together. She was not in my journal or codex, so I don't know who you're talking about. A few years younger than me. Red hair, scar on her forehead. We had dinner with her and her husband once or twice. Neither the name nor the description rang a bell. I still don't remember her, but go on. Anyway, she's been working as an executive assistant at the Violet Pictures film studio. She recently became pregnant and asked her boss for paid maternity leave. And guess what? She was fired for it. Oof, I can definitely sympathize with that. So, my mother was let go from her job when she was pregnant with me. So, gotta love the way that can kind of roll out. Anywho, fictional politics again. Let's see. After asking for maternity leave, that's terrible. I know, I was beside myself when she told me. That's not all. They immediately replace her with a younger, less experienced man. The son of an executive, no less. Nepotism, eh? They must have wanted him in there all along. That doesn't justify what they did to her. As it happens, another friend works for a television station that's hiring secretaries, so I connected the two of them. That doesn't solve the deeper problem, though. So you're finally starting to see things my way. Women in this country are still seen as wives and mothers first, human beings second. They're harassed at work, underpaid, blocked from positions of power, and those are the lucky ones. The fact that there are still places in this country where little girls like Dana are denied the right to an education. Go on. These little girls and people like Janice need someone to speak on their behalf. A role model. a successful woman. We were right in front of one of the park benches that lined the river. Monica gestured to it, and we sat down. Which brings me to my point. I know that the mayor of Enrica, Curtin List, will be delivering a speech at the annual opening of the Benfey Festival. My wish is to take his place and deliver the speech instead. Les was one of Soylent's most influential politicians. He had started his career in Benfey before rising to power in Enrica. Benfey's current mayor had personally invited him to make the opening speech. Replacing him with Monica would likely anger him, not enough to cause a major incident, but enough that he might not support me in the assembly. Well, good thing I don't need the assembly right now. I want to base the speech on women's rights in Swordland, on the oppression and discrimination we face every day, on the basis of our sex alone. I want our voice heard, and this festival is the time to do it. I just need your blessings as my husband and the president of Swordland. Monica's eyes were blazing with a fire I hadn't seen since we were students. She wanted this badly, but I had to be careful with my promises. I am going to support her fully in this, and later on you'll see the reason why, because the guy is kind of a dick. So I can't break myself to be that much of a douche. Alright, you have my full support. Always. And I said I was not going to be a douche to my family, so there's that. This is why I love you. Thank you, Anton. You have no idea how much this means to me. Monica beamed at me, her face flushed with excitement. One way or another, I want to contribute to this country, no matter what happens. We are not weak, Anton, but we are only strong as long as we stand by our ideals. This was why I had married her, this passion and resolve. I should have anticipated that sooner or later she would join me in the political arena. We rose from the bench and started making our way back home. Otherwise, we'll end up like... Well, I'm the reason why Alfonso got screwed. So, Aeonis Krona? Exactly. He backed down on his ideals, and now everyone knows him for what he actually is. At that moment, we passed Ionis Krona again. He was on a nearby bench taking a smoke break after his own walk. Monica plastered on a big smile and greeted him, then turned back to me. Spineless. Oof. Bars. If that was how people remembered Ionis, how would they remember me? Whatever he had done, whatever ideals he had lost, he must have had his reasons. Would they remember me as a true patriot, a reformer of the country? What would they write about me in the history books? Whatever I tell them to write in the history books. Let's get back to the house for dinner. Of course, lead the way. Monica smiled. You know, I believe I will. When we arrived home, I called my secretary Olivia and asked her to inform Mr. Les that Monica would be making the speech in his stead. The sun began to set over the horizon, bathing the clouds in shades of orange and pink. Oh goody, reports galore. Alright, let's see what we have here. And my economy is still trash. And it's probably going to remain trash. I do know that when I played the last time and I think I had the emergency declaration, things turned out differently, but in this one, I fully expect for this to turn into a shit show because you'll see later on. I'm trying not to spoil certain things, but yeah, I fully expect for this playthrough to just be terrible. So yeah. Explosion in Dare, 18 killed, 22 wounded. A bomb attack on a police station in Dare has killed 18 officers and injured 22 others, officials say. BFF has claimed responsibility for the attack. The police of Dare said militants from the British Freedom Front, or BFF, also fired at the officers as they tried to escape the fires of the explosion and the treacherously pre-planned ambush. The attack came after the declaration of the state of emergency and the arrest of the spokesperson of the Workers' Party of Bludia. The first such attack of this proportion since a period of peace began with the departure of Tarkin Sol. There's been a wave of unrest in Swordland for the last couple of months. These attacks seem to suggest that the racial tension in Purges have also increased to very dangerous levels, which might make attacks from the BFF more likely in the future. The Arcasia has called on both sides to avoid violence, but stressed that Soylent has the right to defend itself against attacks by Blutish rebels. Detonation. Soylent in a tough spot. Current public reports from the Ministry of Economy are pointing to a deep underlying problem with Soylent's economical standing. Debt. It appears that the current ventures to get out of a recession have put a considerable dent in the reserves, although the comments from the administration state that this situation is only temporary. That remains to be seen. Our economic advisors have commented on the matter, saying that the current stance of the administration is hiding the extent of the debt. This, of course, brings up the question, is Soylent turning into a debt nation? You know, sometimes the Lachavan times can be almost worse than damn Soylent today. Yeesh. Alright. Okay, we've read everything else over here. Geopolitical. Smollett condemns Arcasian soldiers in Lesbia. Wessex President Victor Smollett on Thursday criticized the Lesbian government for bringing Arcasian soldiers close to the borders of Wayland. Last month, Prime Minister Alvarez and President Walker agreed on the construction of several military bases in Lesbia that would station Edo soldiers. With the arrival of the first Arcasian soldiers into Lesbia this week, Wayland's stance has become increasingly hostile. In his speech on Thursday, Smollett said President Walker has succeeded in spreading Arcasian imperialism to eastern Marcopa, which will have consequences for every one of us in the region. Edo is clearly expanding its influence in our region using Lesbia. We must be careful, said President Smollett, warning the neighboring nations of Agnolia and Soylent to be prepared for future crises. And Chancellor Hagel condemns the military buildup in Lesbia. In the press conference on Wednesday, Chancellor Hagel of Vogtsland condemned Arcasia for building a military base on the Ravenous Islands. In his statement, Arcasia's actions on the Ravenous Islands is a provocative move that is undermining the peace and stability in the region. It is also threatening Vogtsland's national security. However, Vogtsland is not a country to be bullied so easily. We and the entire CSP coalition will respond in force if Arcasia does not withdraw from the island. Alrighty then. Tension. It's like the Cold War on steroids. Let's see. Alright, in Boren, Red Youth members charged with terrorism and treason. 12 militants from the Red Youth have been tried and sentenced to 96 years in prison. Jesus. Due to terrorism and treason-related charges in Boren. Many more Red Youth members are waiting for their turn in prison. The mayor of Boren reports concern about reaching the maximum capacity of the prisons in region. You know, I wonder if you can turn around and do like a Stalinist playthrough, now that I think about it. Like, could you work with the Supreme Court and then just, you know, blame everything on the fascists? And then I guess you could use the Blutish Freedom Front, or maybe you wouldn't have to use them. I don't know. You could probably do something kind of weird. But I'm curious. Okay. In there, we have the BFF bombs the police station. Jesus. In a treacherous attack, the BFF has bombed the police station in Dare. Initial casualties are reported at 3 officers dead and 22 injured. The perpetrators have escaped into the Gumran Mountains near Suzerain, and a search was started to bring them to justice. The border guard has been notified of the attackers in case they try to flee to Wayland. The Workers' Party of Blutia condemned the incident. And they're under lockdown after the arrest of the WPB leader. After the arrest of Fita Ejal, the leader of the WPB, the Blutish populace has been rioting in Dare, calling for an end to the unfair emergency decree. In the following protests, 6 people were killed and 264 people were injured. The police moved into the city of Dare, which has now been placed under lockdown. All WPB party headquarters were raided and its members were arrested to answer for the terrorism charges. Alright. And in Whole Sword, 3,684 were taken into custody after unlawfully protesting. Over the weekend, we have taken 3,684 citizens in police custody for protesting unlawfully after the passing of the emergency decree. Out of the 3,684, 134 have been arrested and charged. The interrogations are still underway to learn if they have memberships to any known organizations. And the General Staff commends the administration. The General Staff convened at Camp Strongarm. A session much shorter than usual concluded with a positive military analysis of Sortland's field capabilities. The chief of the armed forces, Vulcan Kruger, made a public press statement praising the administration and its efforts to strengthen the most important branch of the government, the military. All staff generals co-signed a letter of support to the Rain administration. Okay. All right. Young Swords members arrested and face terrorism charges. 6 terrorists from Young Swords plotting to bomb a rally were caught by Lachavian police. The perpetrators confessed to their plans and said they did it in response to the ban on Young Swords. They have each been convicted and sentenced to 154 years in prison for planning a terrorist attack on the people of Sortland and for treason against Sortland. I think in the United States, if you get convicted of treason, I think it's an automatic death sentence. So it's very rarely ever used, but I'm pretty sure that it's an automatic death sentence. Alright, we were at the top floor of the Business Council building, which had a great view of the beautiful Lachavian. I looked outside from the tall glass windows. The Markian Sea stretched as far as the eye could see, and it was dotted with many ships toward the horizon. They were mostly cargo ships carrying precious goods in and out of Sortland. Tracing back the paths of ships, I looked at the harbor. Lachavian was home to one of the largest harbors in the entire continent. Many dockyard workers were loading or unloading containers. Work never stopped here. The door opened. Simon, Mikhail, and Edith entered the meeting room. Mr. President. Mr. President, so nice to see you again. Good afternoon, Mr. President. It's great to see you all again. Simon put down his bag on the table and started collecting his documents while the others slowly took their seats. Mr. President, before we start, I would like to mention some rumors that I heard. Vetoing the recent Workers' Rights Act was welcomed by a lot of business owners. The first section about the minimum wage would have been very damaging to many corporations. I heard the same. A good decision, I'd say, especially during a recession. I don't care about rumors. If someone wants to say something, they can say it to me directly. And neither of them responded. Simon waited patiently. Once everyone was ready, he adjusted his glasses. First of all, I would like to thank everyone here for their work on our tax system reform. We all know how complicated our current system is, and this work wouldn't be possible without you. He turned to me. The ultimate goal here is to end the recession. Before we move ahead and start formulating a plan, we need to determine our direction, Mr. President. We have a few possibilities as a result of the work we have done so far. We can increase, maintain, or decrease the taxes for large corporations. I believe some of us in the room have a few strong opinions about this. In parallel, we can increase, maintain, or decrease the taxes for small and medium businesses as well. Let's start with large corporations, and we'll move on to small businesses. What is the outcome if we increase the taxes for large corporations? It's not an option at this point. Our economy is in shambles. Taking what's remaining from the businesses will destroy the economy further. We could balance it by decreasing taxes of small businesses to put some relief on them. I see. I'm not sure if that's a good idea with the current state of our economy. I do believe there is one way to get out of the recession. It is through the trade and the economic contribution of large corporations. Increasing their taxes will turn them on you. I will go a step further. Increasing their taxes will have a disastrous result and it will make you an enemy of them. Trust me, Mr. President. Nobody wants to make an enemy of them. Okay. Maybe you're right. What if we decrease the taxes for large corporations? It's not an option at this point. Our state is broken. We're barely functioning with the help of the taxes. We could balance it by increasing the taxes of small businesses. I see. I'm not sure if that's a good idea with the current state of our economy. I think this is a great idea. Me too. You would have them on your good side on top of solving the recession crisis, Mr. President. I have to agree, being their ally would come in handy. Is there any downsides to keeping things as they are? Unfortunately, That's the only thing we can do at this point anyway. The economy is completely destroyed, Mr. President. I don't know how we'll get out of this mess. What does everyone think we should do? I don't think we can do anything at this point. Although I would have preferred a decrease in taxes, it doesn't seem to be possible. Our international trade is driven mostly by the products of these corporations. They are the backbone of our economy. Exactly. An increase should be out of the question. These companies are the backbone of our economy and our way out of the recession. I'm ready to make a decision. Very well. Okay, so in my playthrough on the side that I did, I increased the taxes for small businesses and I decreased the tax for large corporations. I think in this particular case, I'm going to go with something slightly different. So, Oh, so okay. So I can't just cut taxes in general. So I guess if the economy was in better shape and maybe if the budget was in better shape, I would have had another option to just go ahead and decrease them for both. But I'll go with what I did with what I did last time. So I'll decrease the taxes for large corporations and balance the budget with an increase for small businesses. It's gonna suck, but oh well. An excellent decision. I agree. Thanks to this, the recession will be solved in no time. I think this will actually have negative effects on our economy. People will suffer. But anyway, well then, I've taken a note of our action and I will put it in implementation as soon as possible. We'll be increasing taxes for smaller businesses, and there will be a tax break for large corporations. This will drain a lot from small businesses to balance the state budget. Simon organized the stack of papers he had in front and placed them back into his briefcase. Well then, thank you everyone. That will be all for today. Enjoy the shaving, people. They left the meeting room. I decided to stay a bit longer. I went by the windows again and kept watching the sea in silence for some more time. Now, in the last playthrough I did, when I actually did this, my economy was kind of crap for a while, but in the end, it did turn out to do really well in the end. I don't know what that was actually based off of. I think it was actually based off of the fact that I did a trade deal with Arcasia. So, and I also lifted the emergency decree. Later on in the game, you have the option to lift the emergency decree. And I guess when I turned around and did that, that kind of created a boom with the economy. I also had a trade deal with Wayland, and I failed at the trade deal with Agnolia. So, yeah. Now, I think I had a trade deal with Lesbia as well, if I remember correctly. So, that kind of boosted my economy a lot. But in this particular playthrough, I want to see if I can get a trade deal with both Wayland, Lesbia, and also with Agnolia. I don't think I can, because I think Agnolia is not going to like the fact that I'm going to keep the emergency decree. And that's the area where I'm not sure about things, is that since I'm keeping the emergency decree this time around, I don't really know how this is going to play out. And I'm pretty sure it's going to play out badly. So, but we'll see how things go. Okay, United Cantana embargoed. And here it begins. The embargo on United Cantana has come into full effect. Our mutual trade has stopped, and travelers from Cantanan nationality are being denied entry into Soylent from all airports, seaports, and border crossings. The port of Lechaven has denied 58 cargo ships from docking and unloading since the embargo began. The Gulf is filled with Cantanan trade ships that have anchored. This led to a major disruption of goods in Lechaven and Soylent in general. The embassy of United Cantana made a condemning declaration calling unilateral action like this a threat to world peace. They'll get over it. Probably not. And an embargo on Runeberg. Should have did that a long time ago. The embargo on Runeberg has come into full effect. Thousands of citizens from with Runebergian nationality are being rejected at the customs area from all points of entry. Trade between our two nations has virtually ceased. Trains with cargo are lining up at the Albrecht border crossing north of Hestord, with several 100,000 tons of goods unable to cross for delivery on either side of the border. Tensions are rising because oil, coal, and gas shipments bound to Runeberg were denied passage by border officials. The Rumberg ambassador called the action an act of escalation towards war. So yeah, they're not happy. Whole Sword Post. Tax increase for small and medium corporations. In order to end the recession, the administration has announced new changes to the tax system. As per the information provided by the Ministry of Economy, the new changes include a tax increase of 10%, bringing the total to 45% for small and medium-sized corporations. President Rain has approved the tax reform, and the changes are expected to come into effect immediately. Lockdown in Dire. After the arrest of the spokesperson of the now banned Workers' Party of Bludia, Fito Ejal, the region of Purges saw many protests against the government, with violent incidents occurring in major cities like Suzerain and Dire. One such protest has been going on in Dire since last week, but turned violent this morning. It is reported that flags of both of the banned parties, namely Workers' Party of Bludia and Bludish Freedom Party, were seen everywhere in the city when the riot police arrived to disperse the rioters. Violent clashes ensued with the rioters resisted the police using petrol bombs and stones. The police reported that there were several weaponized militants hiding among the crowd, believed to be Bludish Freedom Front terrorists. Already violent clashes became deadly when a gunshot was fired at the riot police. Additional police forces, as well as a group of gendarmerie forces, were sent to Dare to control the situation. The clashes resulted in 6 deaths and more than 250 wounded. The police forces have surrounded the main streets of Dare, and a complete lockdown of the city was introduced in the morning. Torrent Hill School wins award. The national school rankings have announced their results for the 1955 school metrics. Surprisingly, in the category of primary and secondary education, the Torrent Hill School has surpassed all others with the highest average results achieved in the student performance, discipline, facilities, hygiene, and staff happiness categories. The NSR committee gave an award to the principal. Education experts believe that the principal and the head teachers excelled in taking responsibility for their duties, which led to better performance in many aspects. Upon closer inspection, the Lachavan Times editorial team found out about how much delegation occurred in the staff that even included diligent teachers to improve and maintain the operation of the school. Jesus. Rain is the new toy of the oligarchs. I don't think I remember that. When will this end? The Ministry of Economy has just announced a tax increase for small and medium corporations, bringing the total to 45%, and tax cut for large corporations, bringing the total to 25%. President Rain's priorities are now crystal clear. Instead of siding with his people, he decided to open his welcoming arms to large corporations and the oligarchs, while some of his citizens still, to this date, suffer from starvation. He has declared his intention was to end the recession. That's a lie. The real question is what he is getting out of it. Who bribed the president so that he ended up laying in the same bed with large corporations? I'm very worried about the future of Suzerain, and until President Rain leaves his chair, we the radical will not rest. I can't wait to arrest all of you. Alright, tax cut for large corporations on its way. According to the information we have received, the administration has decided to decrease the taxes for large corporations by 10% to a total of 25%. This comes as part of the tax reforms to stop the recession. This move will surely be welcomed by many large business owners, and we believe this was a really good move to curb the effects of the recession. After all, large corporation brings in more money into Suzerain, and they are the reason the recession is not worse than it already is. This decision will definitely benefit Suzerain in the long run. I don't know about that, but we'll see. And Smolak threatens new military incursion targeting BFF. Wessex President Victor Smolak has threatened to launch military operations in northern Wayland, close to the borders of Suzerain and Lesbia, against the Bludish rebel group, the BFF, which, that word considers to be a terrorist organization. In a television interview to curry support for next month's referendum to extend his presidential powers, Smolak announced that the military is preparing a new internal operation with possible cross-border implications against the BFF. Observers point out that a tough stance against the BFF, which is fighting for minority rights, plays well with Wessex nationalists. Smolik has pledged to eradicate the bluish groups in Wayland. The Democracy Party of Wayland and the militant organization, the Bluish Freedom Front, which is known to operate both in Wayland and Swortland extensively. Such operations are fraught with military risk and the possibility of further exacerbating already tense relations among neighbors, particularly with Swortland, due to the large number of Bluish minorities living close to the borders, as well as the Arcasia-backed Lesbia. Despite such risk, some analysts don't rule out such a military operation. Okay, that sounds like that's going to be a problem. Alright, visit and inspection of schools in Leyrin. As part of the planned program, we arrived in Leyrin to visit a middle school. The prestigious Torrin Hill School was situated close to the suburbs, just outside of the city center. The building was flanked by 2 hills, each beautifully dotted with shrubs and flowers. Lucien, Sierra, and I got out of the cars and met at the entrance. Our presence had not gone unnoticed. Apart from our guards, there were at least 10 reporters following us around. That must be the principal. Right this way, sir. The principal was a man of short stature with a bushy mustache and a pair of glasses. He approached us quickly, but was stopped by the security guards. They started patting him down and searching him. That won't be necessary. Let him through. Mr. President, such an honor to meet with you, sir. Shake his hand and smile for the cameras. We shook hands and I turned around to smile for the cameras. Reporters instantly snapped a few photos. Welcome to our humble school. Sorry about the security guards. It's a necessity. Standard procedure. Excellent. You must be Mr. Galad. It's a pleasure to meet you. And Miss Walda. So good of you to come all the way out here. Thank you. At the entrance, the school's motto was inscribed on the wall in giant letters. Oh boy. In Stretin cis Agnikar Avgarinda? Oh boy, this is gonna be terrible. Int Ola Omgrawalton Int Ala Mexis. Oof. I'm so sorry for that. I'm pretty sure your ears are bleeding. Education is the premise of progress in all societies, in all families. Yeah, could have just put that up there. Good lord. What happened to like Sanchez Punta or whatever it is? Alright. We walk through the gates. There are many students lined up in front of the stairs to the main building. The school band started playing as we entered. All of the students immediately snapped to attention and turned to me. Looks more like a military institution than a school. Exactly. That's what we pride ourselves on. Discipline has the utmost importance in our school. Okay. Very good. Sierra frowned and shook her head. Glad you liked it, Mr. President. Now we will watch the students take their daily student oath. A boy and girl went up to the stage and grabbed their microphones. The students turned to them. I am a sword. My strength lies in my blood. I will respect our honorable elders. I will protect the young. My life belongs to Swortland now, and it will belong to it forever. I will always follow the guiding light of Colonel Sol and the great swords. Amorgna Westcor, Vectern Sisda. Jesus. You can feel the fascism just bleeding from that. I started clapping loudly. Everyone joined. I almost forgot the words, which proves the uselessness of this oath. No one even remembers it after they graduate. If you wish to follow me, we will take a look at one of our classrooms. Through the hallways, we made our way to classroom 7A. As soon as I entered, the whole classroom rose up and snapped to attention. At ease. The students sat down. The same boy and girl walked up to us. These are our top students in our top class. This here is my son. The boy came before me and saluted me like a military officer. Tell Mr. President what you want to be. Mr. President, I want to be a general, sir. I am ready to sacrifice myself for my country and you, sir. Again, since we're going with the fascist route, albeit with some slight tweaks. Um, Good. You'll make a fine soldier in the future. At ease, General. Thank you, sir. The principal squeezed his son's shoulders, and the boy looked up and smiled to his father. He patted him on the back and sent him off to his seat. The cameras flashed. This is simply ridiculous. You're raising soldiers here, not students. I'm so sorry. I will immediately perform disciplinary actions. How about you, young lady? What do you think about this? She is our top student in the school. Her excellent grades are to... I didn't ask you. She bent down and gently addressed the young student. What do you think about your school? Just between us girls. I'm sick of having to knit and sew while the boys learn science and chemistry. I'm smarter than all of them. Why do I have to take these stupid handcraft classes? Shh! Do you know who you're talking? Shut up, let her speak. Sierra's presence had emboldened the girl. She went on. My math and reading scores are the best in the school, but they won't let me take the classes I want, just because I'm a girl. I want to be a scientist, not some soldier's wife. Okay, again, I said I was going to be fighting for women's rights, so I'm going to make a slight tweak here, again, to our fascism, if you will, our swordlinism. You heard her, Mr. Principal. You will make the necessary changes at once. As you wish, sir, at once. I will personally check back and ensure that the changes are made. Yes, sir. The cameras flashed once again. I looked around the classroom and saw a large portrait of Colonel Soul. An excellent portrait of Colonel Soul. Very lifelike. Thank you. Well then, unfortunately we're almost out of time. We have other meetings to attend to today. Thank you for the warm welcome. Mr. President, Lucien, please go ahead. I would like to speak with the girl alone. Thank you for the tour. Thank you for visiting our school, sir. Come on, class. 1-2. All students in the classroom yelled, but the boy whom I met was the loudest. Amorgna West Corps. Vectern Sisda. After another round of photos, we departed. Alrighty then. So now we have dealt with the schools. We have 5 more news articles. It is just flooding in. Jesus. What do you guys want? Queen Beatrice Livingston calls Swordland a threat to world peace. Queen Beatrice Livingston appeared on TV to call Swordland not just a threat to peace in Eastern Marcopa, but a threat to peace in the entire world. She has also publicly condemned President Anton Rain's new policies, and also she expressed her worries about the direction Swordland is headed. She urged the Rumburgian army to secure the southern border, citing violent incidents in northern Swordland. Oh, I can't wait. I wish I had a nuke. I would just blow them up. Like, this is ridiculous. Douches. They start stuff with us, and then we have to turn around and be like, oh, yeah, we're just defending ourselves. Bunch of douches. Okay, a briefing on the proposal of education reform over here. And we have increased police budget restores stability. Recent increases in the police budget has helped the police forces tremendously in dealing with protests all over the country. Arrests are being made swiftly and quickly while protecting the population. With the current forecast, we are expecting everything to return to normalcy very soon. And if you come over here to the country overview, we can go to law, and I think we can actually see some of the stuff. Yeah, you can actually see some of the upgrades too. I haven't really dealt with a lot of this before, but yeah, as you make changes to certain laws and stuff like that, you can see the impact over here. So now you have happy police personnel, you have an enlarged police force, and you have subversives arrested. The secret state police has conducted an operation and detained many subversives who plan to damage the integrity of Swordland. So now again, you can go about doing this whichever way you want to in different playthroughs and stuff like that. I'm doing this because this is what was voted on and stuff like that. But yeah, there are many ways that you can turn around dealing with certain situations. And I like the fact that they can do that, because one of the things that always kind of bothers me about games, and I get the reason why they do it for various reasons, but irregardless of whatever political, spectrum you end up on, there can be bias towards certain policies and stuff like that. And me on the other hand, I just like to play games. I like to play games and being able to play and role play different things and stuff like that. And I want it to be fair, and I don't want to get shoehorned into doing certain things because that's the right way to do it. And it's nice that in this game, because again, I've already beat this once before, but it's nice that in this game you can turn around and play as a conservative, and you can actually be successful. You can have a successful country, you can have a good country, and you know, things don't have to turn out poorly. Now, there's one thing that I did hear about that was a little bit controversial, but I'll deal with that when the time actually comes or whatever, and if that actually pans out that way. I haven't encountered it yet, but we'll see. But so far, I really do like the fact that you can play in so many different ways, and you can play whichever way you personally feel, and if you do it just right, you can actually be successful. And I think, to me, that's the best thing, is that if you can play a game, you can play a certain way, and if you do things the right way, or if you do things a certain way and you can pull it off, you can be successful. And that, to me, is what makes it a great game. And so far, I have not seen any other political game that allows you to do that. So, and it's a story-based political game, which is really sad to a certain degree, that this story-based political narrative game is a lot better than a lot of actual, you know, political sims that I've played. So, anywho, that's just my 2 cents for right now, and I apologize for that. Let's see what we have in the news in the Whole Sword Post. President visits school in Laren. A middle school in Laren received a special visit from President Rain and the Minister of Education, Ms. Walda. Students and staff at Torrin Hill School, one of the 5 most prestigious schools in East Swordland, welcomed the special visitors on Thursday morning. President Rain had expressed his wish to visit the successful Torrin Hill School and spent the morning talking with staff and students, joining in with lessons and hosting questions and answer sessions with the students. Through this visit, Torrin Hill is delighted to have an opportunity to represent the fantastic job that all staff members have been doing. Assembly talks about prayer language. Today, Kazaro Kibner, the leader of the NFP, has proposed the Swordish Prayer Language Act to the Assembly. The proposed bill aims to standardize the language of prayer to Swordish in the entire Swordland. Prayer language has always been a controversial topic, as most of the religious ceremonies in Bergia, in the Bergia region, where most of the Bludish population resides, conduct their prayers in Bludish. The proposal has caused heated discussion between the Bludish MPs and NFP, resulting in Mansoon Leek, the leader of the independent MPs, leaving the assembly in protest. And here we go with the Lachavan Times. I'm pretty sure they're going to drum up some type of bull. Okay. Dennis Staller, the leader of the Communist Party of Swordland, CPS, has been detained along with at least 10 other members because of their reluctance to give testimony for crimes linked to terrorist propaganda. Police raided the Whole Sword home of leader Dennis Staller early on Friday. Staller, a charismatic leader known as the Swordish Hegel by some admirers, had been targeted by several earlier investigations, but this is the first time that he has been detained. Whole Sword accuses the CPS politicians of using the Red Youth organization to create terror and acting to further the interest of Malinyevis administration of United Cantana. Member of Assembly arrested. Mikhail Mussolini, definitely not Mussolini, an MP from the National Front Party, was arrested on Tuesday for supporting the Young Swords organization and aiding terrorism. At least 2 other NFP members were also detained. Lawyers said in a major escalation of the government's crackdown on its opponents in the wake of the murder of Bernard Sarkos. Raids also took place in the cities of Jen and Erlery. The raids took place against a backdrop of rising criticism over the government's purge, which also saw the issuing of arrest warrants against 2 editors of Whole Sword Post who were known to be supporters of the Young Swords organization. Jesus, okay. Can y'all arrest some people from the Lachavan Times? Good God. What's going on in Dare? Dare has been sealed off since last Friday after the Swordish police launched an operation against Bludish militants there, which was started after the unlawful arrest of Fitol Ejal, the spokesperson of the Workers' Party of Bludia. The world and the rest of Swordland is currently watching the city without knowing what really goes on inside. Civilian casualties have been reported, and there are some concerns about food shortages. The Alliance of Nations has asked Swordland to allow access to observers. A statement from the local authorities Okay, I kind of lost my place there. A statement from the local authorities thanked their residents for their patience during the successful operation against terrorism. 15 civilians have died since Friday, according to eyewitnesses, although the government has said only 6 civilians died and that the rest were militants. These people that are being killed, they are our kids. We know them all. They all are from Dare or the surrounding villages. They are not terrorists. They are just patriots, said Marla, a local resident. The sense of anger and defiance is evident everywhere on the city walls, with slogans in red letters, Yolak Bludrat, which means freedom for Bludia in Bludish. The situation around the country is becoming increasingly violent and hostile as the state of emergency continues, which makes it seem like we have returned to the Soul era once again. Alright, let's check out this, and then I think we'll wrap this video up here. We were still in Laren, staying at a modest guest house for state employees. Sierra set up a meeting with me and Lucien to go over her plans for education reform after our school visit. Lucien was seated across from me at the table going through documents. Sierra entered the room. After the visit yesterday, I couldn't even sleep thinking about that little boy and girl. I have never been more sure of my intentions to reform our education system. Lucien took off his reading glasses and put it on the table. I don't see what's wrong with our education system. You don't? Can't you look at it objectively and see what's wrong with it? You can't be serious. Sierra, check your tone. Would you say that to a man, Lucien? Those students have to repeat that same soulless propaganda every single day. They are being brainwashed at an age when their minds need to be free. On top of that, young girls are denied the same opportunity as boys. They're forced into the role of housewives before they even reach puberty. The only way people like me, Nia, Lilius, Gloria, and even your wife were able to escape that is because our families were fortunate and well-connected enough to be able to educate us outside of the public school system. Is that the kind of country you want your daughter to grow up in? Mr. President, we need to bring change. We need to free the minds of these young people. They are our future. Very well. What do we need to do for an education reform? We need to keep politics out of the curriculum. Soul should only be viewed as a historical figure. Children shouldn't have to repeat his name every day. This is actively poisoning young, bright minds. Instead of thinking for themselves, they're learning to take things at face value. We also need to ensure boys and girls receive the same instruction. Handcrafts like knitting and sewing should be taught to both sexes, or not at all. Soylent's youth must be technically skilled and capable for the next decade. That won't be possible with the amount of nationalistic indoctrination and narrow-minded thinking found in schools today. Either we raise a generation ready for the challenges of the future or not. What will it be, Mr. President? Lucien, what do you think? As much as I respect Colonel Soul, his time has passed. Now it's our time. I do think this might be the first step of a larger plan. Oh, shit. I'm kind of conflicted about this because, again, fascist playthrough, so I don't need smart people. I need people that's gonna follow me. But on the one hand, I do want to give women's rights, and I want more women to, be involved in this particular case, so I can't thread the needle in this particular situation. So unfortunately, I think I'm just gonna have to leave the traditional education system. It's not gonna really matter either way because they don't have the funding to do anything, so I'm just gonna maintain the traditional education system. Sierra looked furious. She shook her head slowly. I am utterly disappointed, especially after yesterday's school visit. I thought it would awaken something in you. She let out a deep sigh. Now that the decision has been made, let's move on. Very well. Sarah skimmed over her documents before continuing. The reduction of the education budget left our hands completely tied. We're in a budget crisis management situation. This has led us to think about allowing privatization to at least keep vital education services unaffected. What are the advantages of privatization? There aren't many, but it would give us sorely needed funds and increase competition among schools. It would support our overall economic strategy of promoting a market economy, too. A few minutes of deliberation passed. It would be a lie to say that a decrease in the budget didn't force us to consider this. We just need the funds even though we don't like privatization. So what is your decision? I am going to initiate privatization, and I'm going to initiate privatization of a lot more stuff too. So I may not do it to the degree that I did it in the last game, but yeah, I'm going to need the funds. So initiate privatization to draw more funds. This should allow for more competition and quality. Will do. That should be it for now. I will get to work and report back later. This has been a very productive day. I will be returning to Wholesword. Thank you for your time. We dispersed after spending nearly the entire day together. I took a moment simply to breathe the fresh evening air of Laren. I felt calmer here somehow, but I would have to return to the chaos of Wholesword soon enough. Alright, so... Oh, okay, well in the next episode, we will continue on to the next chapter, so it seems. Let's see what we have here. I'll go ahead and read these first, and then we can go ahead and just start fresh in a new chapter. Let's see, 2,660 dismissed for links to terrorist groups. This week, 2,666 state employees were sacked for alleged links to terrorist groups under the emergency decree. Okay. Come here. United Cantana launches their second satellite. Intelligence reports that United Cantana has successfully launched a second satellite which has the capability of radio communications. This means that United Cantana radio communications will be able to be transmitted through a satellite for the first time ever, a technology that no other country currently possesses. Ooh, nice. And I won't get any benefits from that. Let's see. Crackdown on teachers' strike. The teachers' union went on a large strike today at Republic Avenue in Lechaven to declare their opposition to the reduction in the education budget. Many displayed worry for their salaries and position, even though a suspension of protest was in place. Riot police cracked down on the group immediately, leaving several wounded. The strike ended the same day. Minister Walda gave an official statement that the strikers had a right to make their point, but at home that she is equally saddened by the developments. Teacher strike. A teachers union went on large strike today at Republic Avenue. Okay, that's basically saying the same thing. So, and I'm guessing the other one was the report because I had the extra police and such. Let's see. Labor Union of Sortland rally violates curfew. The rally organized by the Labor Union of Sortland in Lechaven has violated the curfew law and was disrupted by local police. MP Katarina Horton was the leader of the protest, and after a brief scuffle with the police, she was released. It's happened a couple times here in the U.S., actually. Doctors strike. 1,000 doctors and nurses were missing from hospitals in Benfey today in a strike to protest the health budget reduction. The PFJP mayor said that the strike has caused major disruption with extended delays in services, but agreed that their voice of concern was legitimate. The Ministry of Health has been notified to identify the health workers and to ensure they return to work as soon as possible and to find alternative solutions to provide services in the meantime. Minister Benny Wall said that he will overcome the challenges presented. All right, still got a lot of problems going on. Oh, our budget went up slightly, so that's good. I'm guessing it's from the privatization thing. So today, terrorists being dealt with. Thank you for helping me out. Tens of thousands of terrorists and their collaborators have been arrested after the declaration of emergency. From leaks to the local journalists, the nearest statistics for the total number of terrorists in prison now comes to a grand total of 20,321. The state of emergency, which President Rain said was necessary and fully in line with Sortland's constitution, enabled him to take swift action against terrorists that wreaked havoc around the country. Surely with the elimination of terror, stability will return to Sortland soon enough. Administration announces education privatization. The Ministry of Education has recently announced the upcoming changes to the education system. The administration has decided to follow through with the promotion of the market economy and started the privatization of education. There was a mixed response where one side is believing that this change will only serve the oligarchs behind the corporations, and the other side defending that this will increase the quality of education. We will see which side is right and the effects of this decision in the long run. And the radical, of course, they have something to say. Demonstrators have been arrested. Tens of thousands of demonstrators were driven out from city centers by riot police in the weekend, according to ground sources. Thousands have been detained. The government has still not declared the real numbers or the identities of the individuals. The government crackdown on the protests around the country was swift and brought to an end to the chaos in major cities such as Holsworth and Lechaven. Reports from mayors around the country came in today saying that the protests are under control and stability will return. I don't know whether that's a good one or a bad one from them. So, all right. And let's continue on to the next chapter. Balance of power in Eastern Marcopa. So I think in this one, this is where we're going to start dealing with some of the other regional powers, and we're going to start having to negotiate some trade and stuff like that. The fun stuff, the real fun stuff, and I'm sure it's going to turn out so badly, so badly. Let's see what we got here. We have a religious harmony bill, and the Ministry of Health discusses privatization. We have Allocation offers aid, and we're going to be taking that because I'm really going to need that aid, especially since I plan on keeping the country in a lockdown for as long as I possibly can. And I think that's it. So yeah, we will pick this up in the next episode. So yeah, I'm gonna probably be making a slight tweak to some of the episodes going forward. I will probably make them a little bit longer. However, in order to make them a little bit longer, I'm probably gonna cut out on the news stuff. I'll just go ahead and read the headline and just give like a summary of certain things going on. And with some of these other reports, I'll probably do the same as well. And I'll probably just stick to just reading the actual dialogue and stuff like that, because it is brutal on my voice. I'm not even gonna lie. I can at max record like 3 videos a day, and then, well, at 3 videos at one time, and then after that my voice is pretty much shot. So in order for me to turn around and get this out as quickly as possible and on a more uniform basis, I'm gonna go ahead and try and cut back on reading as much dialogue as I do, and just go ahead and putting out longer videos that focus more on the dialogue and stuff like that. So, but yeah, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave it in the comment section. If you like the video, like the video. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe. I have plenty of stuff in my library, and I have plenty more stuff to come. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. See you.